All right, I'm Kevin Coleman with the Scioto Post, and the two of you just spoke to the Ross County Commissioners. Wayne McLaughlin, you are with the Reentry Coalition, I believe.
I am.
And Pat Friel, you are the founder of Pat Friel and Associates, is that right?
I no longer own Pat Friel and Associates. I sold and retired and joined Wayne.
Okay,
With
well, great.
Reentry.
So you spoke with the commissioners for about half an hour. Just briefly,
Yes.
what is this all about? What is the core purpose of what you talked about?
Okay. I chair the Ross County Reentry Coalition, and that's a collaboration of many different organizations in the county that work together when somebody is coming back from prison to hopefully help them avoid reoffending and going back to prison. We do that pretty much in three ways. We put a safety net when they first get back. If they need food or shelter, we refer them to get them help that they need. And then the second thing we do is try to get them a job if we can. And that's the core of what we do. That's the biggest part of what we do. In addition to that, we have a new program now that or a big part of what Pat is doing, and Pat is the program manager for the coalition, you with me? And a new component pretty much in the last several months is we got funding to help these individuals, because the majority of people coming back from prison went to prison for a drug-related reason. They did a crime, they robbed somebody, or they got caught for distribution and sales of drugs and that kind of thing. So a big component of folks coming back have a drug use history, or there's a motive to motivate those who don't have a drug use history to prevent having a drug use history going forward. And so starting this year primarily, we got new funding to help those previously addicted folks, or people that we can help not get addicted. And that's a big part of what Pat does for the coalition. So that's one big program that we have, relates to the returning citizens who are coming out of prison, coming back. And one thing we talked to the commissioners about is that there are also now more and more long-term people incarcerated in the jail. We got overcrowding problems, we got behavioral problems in the jail, so the sheriff needs help. And so going forward, one of our objectives will be to see how we can help the sheriff with those long-term folks doing some of the same kinds of things when they are released as we do when people are released from prison. So that's pretty much one part of the program. The second part is that there are probably 400 children in Ross County now, 393 I think is the number, between the age of infant and 18 who has a parent in prison right now. Well, those children have all kinds of challenges because when parental incarceration, those children are twice as likely to be diagnosed with depression, 3 times as likely with ADHD or anxiety. They are 5 times as likely to get expelled from school. They are twice as likely to perform at the lower percentile academically, and only 10% is likely to perform at the highest academic level. So there is an abundance of data that says those children have challenges in life which are much, much greater than other children. So the SKIP program, Supporting Kids of Incarcerated Parents, that's what Pauline Crockett chairs that program, or she runs that program.
She was with you at the commissioners.
She was sitting back there. Well, that program, we recruit children from all the schools in the county and the city schools, as well as through the court systems, and we now have 66 children enrolled. And we think within a few weeks we'll have 75 children enrolled. Problem is that our funding is limited. With me, we only have $27,000 in funding, and for that many children, we will be desperate if we're looking for some additional funding going forward. Or we'll have to change our criteria to spend less per child or to accept fewer children in that program. So those are the two things really that we were talking to the commissioners about, in anticipation of sending them a letter in the next few weeks requesting funding. And I wanted a feel for if we requested funding for this child piece, because we haven't requested that funding before, there's an increased likelihood, seems like they might be receptive to, putting some money in that as well. If they spend in that kind of money, right, 6,000, so that's 200, how much is that? 60,000 a month.
We said at one time it was 96,000.
Yeah, but they spend $750,000 at JDC just to keep, kids locked up for crimes at the Juvenile Detention Center. And if we can get a little money and somehow intervene to help some of those children so they don't keep doing what they do, then it would be a worthwhile investment. And that's when Pat expanded on the kinds of things that we might do at JDC. But that's all. Those are our missions, right? To help returning citizens so they don't, so they don't do additional crime. Right. On average, there are 550 people or so from Ross County sentenced from Ross County in prison somewhere, and about 150 of those get released every year. And of that 150, 90 or so had addresses in Ross County before they left. That was a question that Commissioner that Dwight asked about. Because if they come here from Columbus or Cincinnati or somewhere and they get arrested here and sentenced from here, then we aren't wanting to incentivize them to come back. But if somebody was a resident here and they then got sentenced and they are coming back here, that's the population that we focus on. And like I said, it's for the first 10 years it was voluntary. We were established in 2009, and it was a voluntary activity. And in 2019, I went to the commissioners and said, we do this with volunteers. We touch a few people. If we had a little funding, we could touch more people. And they funded us for $10,000 that year. And then that funding has increased the last couple of years. And so they were vital to our beginning to do this. And like I said, crime, not to agree, is becoming a serious, it already is serious, because you got generational crime, you got crime getting more serious, criminal getting harder nowadays than they have in the past. And so if there's some ways that we can intervene to somehow prevent future crime, you with me, then that's what we're about the task of doing.
So
the other reality,
the plague of drugs is only getting worse, and it's affecting younger and younger people.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And the other thing about young people is that the children of incarcerated parents, that population is enormously more likely to be incarcerated themselves, down the pike.
They don't have the best of example to go by.
That's right. They'll mimic mom and dad. They'll do that kind of stuff, and so.
So you are mainly dealing with people coming back from prison or jail.
Right. That's
and their children who may be left behind.
Right.
So how can people learn more about what you do and maybe take advantage of your services?
Well, Pat Friel has been and is an extraordinary asset to the coalition, in that she is a very much certified mental health and substance abuse counselor. And so, like you said, the marriage of crime and drugs is so much, right? And so Pat's just been with the coalition for several months now, and is introducing ideas and programs and thoughts that's helps us to help the people holistically more than we could in the past. You with me? And so you can expand on that if you want.
And this is all under the umbrella of the Reentry Coalition?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. Basically, I've worked with this population when I owned an office here in Ross County throughout the last 25, 30 years. So it's not a new population for me to work with. And some of them have known me from my office setting. They're coming back, so it makes it very easy to make contact and maintain contact with them. And by relationships is what it's all about. And by having that relationship, you can encourage people then to explore avenues of education, employment, get other help for mental health, substance use disorders that they need. And I know a lot of folks who have rentals, so I make direct contact with those folks. So all in all, we can really offer people a great deal just because of the contacts I've made in the community over the last 25, 30 years.
So how can people find out what you do? Do the jail or prisons give them your information? Do they find you on the internet?
You can find us on the internet. You can also contact case managers in each of the prisons in the state of Ohio, and we have forms that they can fill out, and then I can meet with the folks before they're released from prison.
And Ross County Reentry Coalition.com at gmail.com, right? Ross County Reentry Coalition at gmail.com is our email address. If you mind, you probably don't want to put your phone out to the public, but it's okay.
It's just Pat at Ross County Reentry Coalition at gmail.com if they want to send an email. and then put their name and a phone number. And if we've had family members call also wanting to know, what can I do to help, my loved one when they come back to the community connect with you. So it doesn't have to be the person who's incarcerated. It can be a family member who wants to help the person returning to.
So your results probably aren't very visible. You're working more behind the scenes, but the more results you have, the fewer recidivism and
That's
repeat
right.
offenders.
Correct.
That's right.
Okay.
And think about it, if they pay $60,000 a month, that's $750,000 a year to put children in the juvenile detention center. And with a few $1,000s, we have a chance to change some of that because they pay on a per child basis. You with me? So child days, I think they call it. Number of days out there for Ross County children. And if the kinds of things Pat's talking about, if we can help those children not be in JDC, the obvious positive impact of that is not only on the child, but it saves the county the money to have to put them in JDC. And it wouldn't take very many success stories to make up the little bit of money that we're asking for.
And the closer you are to a more normal situation, the better for the child and the family.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Reverend Wayne McLaughlin and Dr. Pat Friel, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.